mill reports for the steel. We need the concrete mix design for the concrete. We need all that. And we can figure out what it'll take to destroy these structures in the manner they were destroyed. We can do that. These are some typical examples of what I see in my daily life. Doing inspections, working through problems, and when you build a steel frame building, there's a nest of problems. These are usually how connections are made, with a combination of bolts, welds, bar joists, or a combination thereof. This is what you'll typically see. And somehow all this broke loose at column 79 from an office fire. Turn of the nut method, tightening a bolt to a full tension position, turns it 1/3 past the contact. Past the full ply contact. Snug tight, then 1/3 beyond. See this worker. Several inches, member welded up, many weld passes. Heat transfer. All this gobbledygook means that heat will convect. Heat will also radiate. Heat will also conduct. And we can do that too in finite element analysis. We can figure out how much fire will it take to get through the suspended ceiling floor tile, get through the concrete deck, and get to that magic column 79 and make it break apart. We can figure out how much fire will do that. I can tell you right now, my hypothesis, it'll take a volcano from the center of the earth to come up inside that building. Another picture of finite element. So this is part of the NIST report from last year. And they're telling me to believe this. Derek, you must believe this. Push the I believe button. The initial local failure began. The probable WTC7 collapse sequence was the buckling of column 79. This buckling arose from a process that occurred at temperatures at or below approximately 750 degrees. The melting temperature is 2750, which are well below the temperatures considered in current practice for determining fire-resistant ratings associated with significant loss of steel strength. When steel or other metal is heated, it expands. If the thermal expansion in steels is resisted by the columns or other steel members, forces develop in the structural members that can cause bucklings of beams or failures of connections. Can office fires break away structural members such as this? Can office fires break this away? No. Never. More from this report from the experts. Fire-induced thermal expansion of floor systems surrounding column 79 led to the collapse of floor 13. That's where it started. We can prove that's impossible. We need the plans. Which triggered the cascade of floor failures somehow. In this case, the floor beams on the east side of building expanded enough that they pushed the girder spanning between column 79 and 44 to the west on the 13th floor. See figure 1.5. The unsupported girder and other local fire-induced damage caused floor 13 to collapse, beginning a cascade of floor failures down to the 5th floor through members that are 1,000 pounds per foot of structural steel, the ultimate building material. Many of these floors had already been at least partially weakened by the fires in the vicinity of column 79. This left column 79 with insufficient lateral support as a consequence, and the column buckled eastward, becoming the initial local failure for collapse initiation. Oh yeah? Let me see the finite element analysis. Let me run my own simulation. Let me verify that, please. Due to the buckling of column 79 between floor 5 and 14, the upper section of column 79 began to descend. The downward movement of column 79 led to the observed kink in the east penthouse and its subsequent descent. The cascading failures of the lower floors surrounding column 79 led to increased unsupported length in falling debris impacted upon and loads being redistributed to adjacent columns, and column 80 and then 81 buckled as well. All the floor connections, I love the word all, to these three columns as well as the exterior columns failed, and the floors fell on the east side of the building. The exterior facade of the east quarter of the building was just a hollow shell. So all this happened, all this damage happened, starting with the initiation from an office fire. The failure of according to this, the failure of the internal columns then proceeded towards the west. Truss 2 failed, hit by the debris from the falling floors. This caused column 77 and column 78 to fail, followed shortly by column 76. Never mind these members, these structural members are an inch thick, and they're welded, and they have a strength of 80,000 pounds per square inch, sometimes many, many dozens of bolts, literally hundreds of thousands of bolts in this. They all failed from an office fire, which tended to push the columns westward, and the loads redistributed to them from the buckled columns. Within seconds, the entire building core was buckling. The global collapse of WTC-7 was underway. The shell of exterior columns buckled between the 7th and 14th floors as loads were redistributed to these columns due to the downward movement of the building core and floors. The entire building above the buckled column region then moved downward as a single unit, completing the global collapse sequence. In other words, a miracle happened. Well, this is what each deck has. Lots and lots of rebar, reinforcement steel, tough stuff, designed to linearly expand and contract in the same manner that concrete does. Worked out well that way. Well, all these floors here are just giving way. They have rebar in them every 12 inches, both ways, and they're just falling. An office fire caused the detachment, and they just fell. Everything just fell. It cascaded. It just fell. Believe that. So here's two more of these FEA. I showed you a little bit what an FEA is, and they're telling me this is FEA. No, this is a visualization of what you want to see, and it's not even a good one at that. And here's their visualization, finite element analysis of the structure with initial damage, presumably damage to that southwest corner that you would think would cause the building to lean or favor its injury. Now, finite element analysis needs to be applied independently by interested students, young people, middle-aged people, old people, Catholics, Jews, atheists, anarchists, everyone concerned with the crime of the murder of 3 million people. It can be done. Too few inside the truth movement are talking about it. No, most people don't know to talk about finite element method analysis, what it is, what it can do, how it can solve this, how it can get to the bottom of this and make what we're told to believe even less believable than it already is. Once again, why? Well, this is what drives me. This is what will always drive me. Truth. So truth fails, and he who departs from evil makes himself a prey. In other words, go along with the world, what the world wants. Then the Lord saw it, and it displeased him that there was no justice. Perhaps our greatest prophet ever, Isaiah. Again, the secular view of why we should be concerned about this. Society lives and acts only in individuals. Forget about collectivism. Von Mises and Rothbard and Hayek debunked Karl Marx. It is nothing more than a certain attitude on their part, individuals, me, you. Everyone carries a part of society on his shoulders. No one is relieved of his share of responsibility by others. And no one can find a safe way out for himself if society is sweeping towards destruction. Therefore, everyone in his own interest must thrust himself vigorously into the intellectual battle. None can stand aside with unconcerned. The interests of everyone hang in the result. Whether he chooses or not, every man is drawn into the great historical struggle, that the decisive battle into which our epoch has plunged us. Solutions. Get the contract documents. Get the construction plans. Get the blueprints. Get the project specifications, the materials testing reports, the mill reports, the submittals, the concrete mix design. Requests for information, RFIs, bid documents, welder certification, minutes from construction meetings, and so on. They're out there. They exist. Get them. Contact those who may have information with regards to the WTC structures. ARA, Albuquerque, New Mexico. They talk to me, they'll talk to you. Ask Dr. Kirkpatrick, how did you do a finite element method analysis and lead a team doing the same thing without the contract plans and specifications? And why should we believe you? Where are the contract